think women can't forget the smooth-talking charmer or the guy loaded with cash? Wrong, dead wrong. I once crossed paths with a man. No fancy words, no fat wallet, just an ordinary guy in a sea of faces. Yet women, from friends to strangers, kept his name alive like he'd carved it into their minds. What was his trick? He didn't pull off grand stunts, didn't shower them with gifts or honeyed lines. He just lived different, tough as steel, confident like the world couldn't knock him down. A beacon, standing tall, that no one could snuff out in the thickest dark. I watched him and thought, what makes this guy stick like that? The answer hit me, it's how he lived. A stoic life, needing no one's nod, not chasing anyone's approval. This is the Stoic Beacon, and today I'm laying out 10 Stoic ways to turn you into the man they can't shake. Not because you're begging for their attention, but because you're you, stronger than anyone out there. Don't look away. You're about to uncover how to ignite your real power right now. Subscribe to the Stoic Beacon now and join me on this ride. Don't miss out on this. Way 1. Don't apologize for who you are. Any guy who ducks his head, mumbling apologies just for being himself, doesn't stick in anyone's mind. He's just a faint shadow in the crowd, leaving no mark behind. Everyone wants approval, but don't lose yourself. I once met a man who stood out. Some girl tore into him right in front of his buddies, saying he wasn't good enough, not successful enough, not worth her glance. Most guys would have shrunk, stammered excuses, or worse, apologized for not fitting her standards. Not him. His eyes went cold, not a flicker of doubt. Locked on her, smirked, and fired back. I'm me, and that's plenty. Don't see it? Your problem. That line hit like a punch to the jaw. Quiet, but steel sharp, left her frozen, mouth shut. No comeback ready. That confidence burns into their memory. Later, I overheard her telling her friends about it, not to mock him anymore, but with this haunted tone, like his confidence had cracked through her smug shell. She couldn't let it go, kept bringing him up, drawn to some strange light he gave off. I got it then. The way he refused to bow made him stand out. Unforgettable, next to all the guys tiptoeing around, scared to upset anyone. Stoicism teaches you to shine from within. Stoicism puts it plain and strong. Owning who you are is the first spark to cut through the dark. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Live true to your nature, and you won't need anyone's stamp of approval." Don't ever shrink down. Don't say sorry for not matching someone's checklist. That's the trap that dims you out. Stand tall. Live your real self. No permission required. When you're a beacon, no one can shake. They'll remember you whether they like it or not. Because real light doesn't fade from anyone's mind. Way 2. Stay silent. When others panic, when chaos hits, they don't need some loudmouth screaming like a headless chicken. They remember the quiet, strong one. The guy who stands firm in the storm like nothing can knock him down. Panic just makes you fade. I once saw a mess unfold. The company lost a big deal, everyone freaked out, yelling, pointing fingers, all trying to prove they're doing something, but one guy stood apart. He sat still in the chaos, not a word, eyes sharp as knives, calm as the world crumbled. While the room spun out, he started handling it step by step. No rush, no noise, like he owned the damn situation. That calm sticks with them. Later, a woman from the team couldn't stop talking about it. He didn't say a thing, but I couldn't look away. His calm made me feel safe. She kept bringing up that stillness, like it was the only light in the madness. He didn't need to shout to stand out. His silence spoke louder than the noisy crowd, carving him into her memory deeper than anyone else there. Stoicism turns silence into power. Marcus Aurelius put it straight. Silence is strength. You don't have to scream to prove you're alive. Stoicism teaches that when everyone's losing it, your steadiness is how you shine like a beacon in a raging sea. Don't yell, don't get swept up. Sit down, breathe, tackle it with a cool head. When you're the only one who doesn't break, they'll remember you as the rock nothing can shatter. Think you can stay silent when the world's falling apart around you? Try it. Next time life hits, don't scream. Keep your cool like a beacon in a storm. Want to master that silence so they can't forget you? Subscribe to the Stoic Beacon now and stick around. The secrets ahead will blow your mind. Way 3. Walk your own path. Don't follow the crowd. A guy who just tags along with the crowd fades out like a grain of sand in the desert. No one bothers to recall him when the wind blows by. They only remember the one who dares go solo, the man who picks a path no one else dares to tread. The crowd's beaten track kills your edge. I knew a man who didn't fit the mold. He had a cushy job, big pay, steady gig, the kind everyone envies, but he ditched it all to chase what he believed in, even when his buddies smirked and his family nagged. They called him crazy, said, "No one lives like that," but he just nodded, grinned. I don't live to fit their eyes. He threw himself into his passion, some small project no one cared about, while his pals clung to their safe office chairs, living carbon copy lives. Standing out makes them unforgettable. This woman met him by chance, heard him talk about that choice, not bragging, just real. And she was hooked on his guts. He didn't care what anyone thought, didn't fear failing. I've never seen anyone like him, she told me, eyes lit up. His daring to buck the crowd wasn't just stubbornness. It was a fire blazing through the dull ash of everyday life, a light she couldn't shake from her mind. Stoicism turns your path into magnetism. Stoicism hands you a simple truth. Your own path is your own light. Epictetus said it straight. Don't live for others' opinions. You've got one life to be you. Don't tag along, don't follow the worn-out trail to please somebody else. Pick your road, rough or lonely as it may be. When you're a beacon, standing alone in the open sea, they'll remember you as a man no one can replace. Ways. Keep your word, like your life depends on it. Empty words blow away like dust. Promises without weight vanish. They only etch into their minds the guy who keeps his word, even if the sky falls, turning talk into rock-solid action. Hollow promises ain't worth a dime. I've seen plenty of guys promise the moon. I'll handle this. I'll be there. But when push comes to shove, they're nowhere, leaving behind a name no one cares to recall. My buddy was different. He promised a girl he'd fix her busted car right as a storm was tearing through. Everyone said, "Forget it, wait till tomorrow. No one's crazy enough to go." He just nodded, said nothing more, grabbed his raincoat and tools, and showed up on the dot. The storm didn't faze him. He got there, got it done, and left. No need for applause. Reliability they can't let go. She couldn't stop talking about it, voice full of awe. I didn't think he'd come. No one shows up in that mess. But he did. That dependability wasn't just help. It was a blaze of light, cutting through the empty promises of the world, making her unable to shake him, like he was the rare anchor in a sea of letdowns. Stoicism makes your word your honor. Seneca cut it clear. A promise is honor. Lose it, you lose everything. Stoicism teaches that keeping your word is how you shine forever, like a beacon that never dims in the wildest sea. Don't toss out promises you'll ditch. Say it, mean it, do it, no matter how hard it gets. When you're the man who turns words into truth, they'll remember you as one no one can match. Your light will burn steady in their minds. Quick tip: next time you promise something, write it down. Set a reminder. Don't let your words drift off. The guy who keeps his word outshines the talker every time. Want more ways to turn promises into unforgettable light? Stick with the Stoic Beacon. We've got plenty of practical tricks up ahead for you to try. Way 5, don't fear losing them. A guy terrified of losing someone, trembling to hold on, is soft as a twig in the wind. They don't recall the clinger, they etch in the man who fears nothing, standing tall like a beacon against crashing waves. Fear of loss cheapens you. I met a guy tougher than steel. Mid-argument, she threatened to bolt, yelling, "I'm out, you'll regret this." Most guys would panic, apologize, beg her to stay. Not him. He locked eyes with her, voice ice cold. "Door's there, go if you want, I don't hold anyone." No flinch, no pleading. He stood firm, like the world could collapse, and he'd still not care. She froze, took a few steps out, then turned back, couldn't leave. Fearlessness is an irresistible pull. Later, she told me, "I've never seen anyone like him. He wasn't scared of losing me, and that fearlessness made me stay." He didn't grab her, but his utter lack of fear hooked her, like she was drawn to a flame too fierce to escape. They remember the one unshaken by loss, because that steely nerve is rare among men, always scrambling to hold on. Stoicism lights you up with freedom. Stoicism makes it plain. Fearlessness is your true light. Epictetus said, "You only lose what's beyond your grip. Don't let it chain you. Don't cling. Don't beg. Let them choose to stay or go. Because when you stand solid, needing no one, you're a beacon they can't look away from." Fear of loss just dims you. Let go. Live like you're whole alone, and they'll burn you into their mind. A light no one can snuff out. Not fearing their loss doesn't just toughen you up. It makes you the guy they can't walk away from. Live like a beacon, needing no one, and watch them come to you, respecting you like never before. Subscribe to the Stoic Beacon now to keep learning. You'll get stronger every day, I guarantee it. Way 6. Hurt, but don't break. Everyone hurts. Everyone falls. But they don't recall the guy wailing about his woes. They etch in the man who gets up, grits his teeth, and keeps going, like a beacon refusing to let the sea's waves snuff out its light. Pain's no excuse to quit. I once saw a guy take a brutal hit from life. Lost a solid job, money gone, friends bailed. Anyone would have bet he'd collapse. Most would have sat there whining, blaming fate, but not him. He didn't let a single complaint slip, just stood up quiet, found new work, started over, step by step, Not fast, but steady. I watched him in those grey days, his eyes still sharp, like the pain was just a breeze. He shrugged off. Grit, they can't stop admiring. This woman met him later, heard how he pushed through. Not a sob story, just a few lines he dropped. And she was hooked on that toughness. I've never seen anyone like him. Lost it all, but still stood tall, kept moving, she told me, voice full of awe. His refusal to break wasn't just resilience. It was a slow, burning fire that stuck with her, like he was the only one who didn't let life crush him in a crowd of quitters. Stoicism turns pain into your glow, and Epictetus laid it out. It's not what happens that hurts you, it's how you handle it. Stoicism teaches that hurting but holding fast is your light. Everyone falls, but rising sets you apart. Don't sit there crying. Clench your jaw, step forward, even if it's slow. When you're a beacon, standing strong through the storm, they'll never forget you, because the man who doesn't break is rare, shining bright among a sea of bowed heads. Way 7. Set boundaries. No one crosses. A guy who lets them trample all over him fades out. He's just a doormat no one recalls. They carve into their minds the man with clear lines, the one who says enough, and stands firm like a beacon no one dares breach. No boundaries destroy you. I saw my buddy deal with it once. They're chatting, having a laugh. Then she pushes a joke too far, oversteps, even insults him to test his reaction. Most would grin, swallow the lump in their throat to keep the peace. Not him. He wasn't playing that game. He locked eyes with her, voice ice cold, cut her off. That's enough. Don't go there. No yelling, no rage. Just a short, sharp line like a blade, heavy enough to freeze the room. She shut up fast. Didn't dare push another word. Boundaries earn respect later, she told me. I thought he'd let it slide, but the way he stopped me, I respect that. He doesn't let anyone cross him. That firmness wasn't aggression. It was a cool, powerful glow, made her see him different, like he was a wall no one could crack. They remember the guy who sets limits, because that unbending steel is rare among men who just take it. Stoicism turns boundaries into power. Stoicism hands you a simple, iron truth. Boundaries are your strength. Seneca said it plain. A man who can't say no has nothing to give. Don't let anyone cross your line. Hold your ground. Say no when it's time. No long excuses needed. When you're a beacon with a limit, no one dares touch. You shine with resolve. They'll remember you as a man no one can bend. Thanks for sticking with the Stoic beacon this far. Setting boundaries is a big step to living tough. We're proud to have you among the men who won't be bent. Stay tuned to sharpen that strength and subscribe now to join our Stoic crew. You belong here. Way 8. Act instead of spouting empty words. Sweet talk's cheap, but doing beats it every time. They don't recall the loudmouth full of hot air. They etch in the guy who acts quietly, turning words into deeds that shine like a beacon in the dark. Empty talk leaves nothing behind. I've seen plenty of guys spin promises like pros. I'll take care of this. I've got you. But when it's time to show up, they're gone. Nothing but echoes. Then I met a man who stood out, late at night. She called because her car broke down, stranded. No help around. He didn't say much, Didn't promise he'd come, just grabbed his tools, drove over, fixed it in the freezing duck, and left without a word of thanks. His action was quiet, but hit hard, crushing the hollow chatter of the rest. Real deeds stick with them. She couldn't stop talking about that night. I was half joking when I called. Didn't think he'd show. Middle of the night. No one does that. But he did. Her voice was all awe, like his silent doing was the only light in a pile of empty pledges. He didn't need to say a thing. His work spoke loud, burned into her like a mark that won't fade, stronger than 1,000 pretty words. Stoicism says, action is your light. Stoicism lays it out. Real action is your true light. Marcus Aurelius said it straight. Talk less, do more. Let your deeds tell your tale. Don't waste breath on fancy words just to sound good. Get up, do it, even if it's small, but make it real. When you're a beacon glowing with action instead of talk, they'll never forget you. Because a man who delivers is rarer than one who just yaps. Way 9. Keep your fire burning. No matter what life throws, life can knock anyone flat, drag you through the mud, but they don't recall the guy whimpering there. They etch in the man who still burns, holding his flame high even as cold winds howl, like a beacon refusing to let the dark swallow it whole. Life hits hard, but it can't kill your spirit. I once saw a man get crushed by life, lost everything. Job, money, even his family turned their backs. Anyone would have thought he was done. But he didn't break. The morning after it all fell apart, he still grinned. Not some fake smile, but the kind from a guy who knows he's not finished. He sat, quiet, mapped out his next move, started over, not fast, not loud, but that fire inside him never flickered, burning steady through every grey day. I watched him and wondered, how does a man keep a flame alive in a pile of ashes like that? That spirit hooks them deep. This woman met him while he was rebuilding. Not wallowing, he just dropped a line about what he believed in and kept working. She was hooked on that spirit, told me. He lost it all, but still smiled, still pushed on. I've never seen a fire like that. His defiance wasn't just surviving. It was a blazing light among the broken, sticking with her like he was the only flame still alive in life's storm. Stoicism teaches an unquenchable fire. Stoicism makes it plain. Your inner fire is what no one can put out unless you let them. Marcus Aurelius wrote, though life blows out the candle, you can keep the flame alive in your soul. Don't let life dim you. Hold that fire, even a spark, no matter how bad it hurts. When you're a beacon glowing through the worst storms, they'll never forget you. Because the man who keeps burning in the dark is rare, a light no one can erase. Keeping your fire alive through storms is how you shine. But how do you make sure it never goes out? Our next Stoic Beacon video will show you how to live unbeatable no matter what life throws. Subscribe now so you don't miss it. You'll be tougher than you ever imagined. Way 10. Live real, no pretense. A guy who fakes it, slapping on masks to please others, fades out like a passing breeze. They don't recall the pretender. They etch in the man who lives real, bearing himself without fear, like a beacon, glowing clear in the night with no need to hide. Faking it just dims you down. I met a guy who didn't play the game. In a group, Everyone's laughing slick, hiding flaws, trying to fit in, not him. He sat there, unafraid to show he's not perfect, speaking his mind blunt, even if it stung. Once someone asked why he wasn't smoother, he shot back, "I don't live to kiss asses. This is me. Take it or leave it." It wasn't sugar-coated, but it was real, slicing through the polished bullshit of everyday life like a knife. Realness sticks with them. This woman heard him say that, shocked at first, but then she told me, "He's the realest I've ever met. No acting, no cover-up. I can't forget that rawness." He didn't need a performance to be liked. His realness was a fierce light, locking her in, like he was the only one bold enough to drop the mask in a crowd full of actors. They remember the real, because that honesty's rarer than gold, in a world drowning in fakes. Stoicism makes truth your brightest shine. Stoicism cuts it clear. Truth is your strongest light. Epictetus said, "Be you. Everything else is just baggage. Don't act, don't pretend to fit someone's frame. Live your real self, flaws out, applause or not. When you're a beacon with no cover, shining pure as who you are, they'll never forget you." Because a man real in a fake world is a light and nothing can match. You don't need grand stunts, don't need to shout or show off. Just live like a stoic beacon. Tough, real, unbreakable against life's storms. That's how you carve your name into their minds, not with loud force, but with a steady light no one can snuff out. From nobody to unforgettable, I used to be the guy no one noticed, a nobody, bending to please others, scared of failing, scared of judgment. But these 10 Stoic ways flipped everything. I learned to stand tall, keep my fire, speak real, act real, and now they won't stop saying my name, not because I tried to impress, but because I lived different, stronger, steadier. I thought you had to do something huge to be remembered. Turns out, you don't. Just be you, solid as rock in a raging river. And that's enough to stick with them. And you can do it too, I'm damn sure of it. Real men don't chase approval. Real men don't beg for claps, don't chase the crowd's nods. They stand there, shining with who they are, letting others come to them like moths to a flame in the dark. Stoicism teaches you don't need anyone to stamp your worth. You're a beacon, and that light says it all. These 10 ways aren't magic tricks. They're tools to forge yourself, to glow in a way no one can copy. Keep the fire and rise with the Stoic beacon. I went from a nobody to a name they can't drop. Now it's your turn. Don't let this fire die. Subscribe to the Stoic beacon today to keep it blazing inside you. Next video, we're diving deeper into living unbeatable, turning every challenge into a step to stand taller. Don't miss it. This is your shot to become the real man, the one life can't erase.